All
Good
right. Hey, everybody.
afternoon, good morning, good evening. Welcome, everybody, to 365 Deep Dive. He's John, I'm Andy, and today we are going to be diving into the new Microsoft Teams desktop client. Now, you're probably thinking, wait a minute, didn't you guys do a little bit of the new desktop client a few months ago? And we did when it went to preview for Windows. But a lot's
hmm
changed in the last few months. We've had a lot of time with it hands-on. I know I've been working with it in my work environment,
It's on
production,
Mac
really
now.
putting it through its paces. Um, but also the Mac OS client rolled out recently, so I had a chance to
hmm
get hands-on with that. And there's a bunch of new stuff to talk about. Rumor has it might be going general availability according to the Microsoft roadmap here in the next few months. And so we wanted to revisit the new Teams client and what has actually changed. So welcome to the show. Hey, John, how's it going?
Good, man. Yeah, I think this is a good time to, circle back on new teams. And like you said, we took a look at it this summer and kind of deemed that maybe it's not ready for prime time. You kind of want to leave like your, web version of Teams up in the background just in case you got to do something else that's, a little bit more power user friendly. It's been a few months. There's a lot of gaps have been closed. So I think it's time for us to revisit and see is it ready for regular folks to start using the new teams and get the benefits out of the performance without having to sacrifice too much of the functionality. So
Yeah.
this will be a really good topic. It'll be a fun show.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this one and putting it through its paces.
hmm
For those of you that are joining in live, let us know in the chat where you're coming from, whether it's Friday or Saturday or somewhere in between. But let us know where you're coming from, and the chat's open, live Q&A. So if you have questions as we're moving through this, we love to demo live. This is going to be a pretty big demo session.
Daryl taking a screenshot.
Yeah, this is going to be a pretty demo heavy session as we're
uh-huh.
moving through this one here today. So this should be a lot of fun. We'll be sharing some socials, how you can engage with us. I know many of you are here through YouTube and through LinkedIn and possibly through Twitter, X, whatever we're calling it this month as well. But engage with us on the socials. Feel free to share. We'll share some of that information coming up. But
Yeah.
why don't we go ahead and dive into the deep dive for today?
Yeah, sounds good. You want to bring up your screen and kind of show I think we wanted to start with the announcement or the documentation of what can we expect with the new Microsoft Teams as it is today, documented by Microsoft, kind of validate some of those features, show off how they work in the new Teams, and then circle back into some of the gaps and are they big enough gaps to warrant waiting still, or for the most part, are we kind of that's kind of a niche use case, so we don't really need to worry too much about that yet. So we'll go ahead and bring your screen on, Andy. And this is the blog post, right? So back to in the Wayback Machine of March, Bing Chat was brand new. We were all excited about that, and things have changed a lot since then. So you want to scroll through this blog post to kind of see where we are today versus March?
Yeah, so this was released back on March 27th earlier this year. This was the initial announcement where they're talking about the new era of Microsoft Teams. Inside of here, some of the things that they talked about specifically, and we've tested previously, is that the new
hmm
Teams is faster, simpler, more flexible, and smarter. This sizzle reel video was really good because it showed load times for the classic teams versus the new teams. We demoed that previously, and the new teams definitely is much faster to load, much faster to work with in a number of different scenarios. From an architecture standpoint, the new teams has been rebuilt. They rebuilt the back end of it, newer technology works a lot better. But
hmm
one of the things that they talked about initially that really hit home with me is it's more flexible, and they're talking about multi-tenant, multi-account. Many of us that we're working with teams, we're not working with teams in a single Microsoft tenant. We're working with teams across tenants, whether I'm in a production environment and we've got clients and customers who have their own tenant, and we're having meetings back and forth, or I'm in the consultant world and I'm dealing with 9 or 10 different clients at the same time, or maybe I'm a community contributor and I am joining another tenant just to be able to deliver a presentation for like a user group. Multi-tenant, multi-account is a big part of the team's experience, and I think Microsoft was a little caught off guard about around that need. So the new tenant or the new
Yeah.
client has been built around a lot of that, so it's more flexible. We're going to come back to this in just a couple of minutes because we got some cool stuff we want to talk about there. On top of that, they talked about it being smarter. They've introduced a number of features inside of it. They leaned into the AI here a little bit, but it's a Microsoft Copilot world now. There's been a number of updates there. That's a whole separate show. So we'll come back to that one down the road. But there's some things that they've started to roll out for with Teams and Copilot that are really exciting. And then they announced that it was easy to get started today. Depending on at the time, if you were in a Windows environment, you could update, and if you were in the public preview early access program, how easy it was to enable it. Now, when we did this previously, we had to enable a policy in the admin center, and then from there, we were able to get it to start showing up for our preview users. I believe that policy is on by default now, if I'm not mistaken. From the Microsoft side, you have to opt out of
Mhm.
it. And then anybody that is in that targeted release, public preview, or early access program should see that light up in the upper left-hand corner, and they can go ahead and start switching into it. But it was a preview, and that's what they were announcing. So that kind of sets the stage for where we've been. Now, the next thing I want to bring up is the new Microsoft Teams desktop client article. This is in learn.microsoft.com. It was updated fairly recently. September 18th was the most recent update to it. Um, and there's a breakdown of all kinds of things inside of here. So, for example, if you're brand new to the Teams client, like what is it? Well, we know it's been rebuilt from the ground up. This is what it looks like. The interface has been refreshed slightly, but it's still the teams that we know. Whether you're working in chat, whether you're working in a team, using Teams for a team to manage a team and work with a team, you're still going to have access to your calendar and then the other applications. Not everything is quite one-to-one. We're going to cover some of that in the show, but this is the new Teams desktop client. Now, with that, some people have some questions. When's this going to be available for my organization? So, as you know, in the article, they talk about it's not yet available for the customers that are listed here. So, for example, it mentions Mac. Well, Mac's in preview, and we're going to demo that today. Both John and I, we're going to go back and forth between Mac and Windows. If you're a VDI customer,
Mhm.
not available there, and it's not available in the web. So this is strictly the desktop application, but that's where I think you're going to get the most value out of it is the desktop. That's where I typically use it, especially from a presentation standpoint. And then we are talking non government cloud. So if you're in like GCC, GCC, High, DoD, it's not going to be available for you yet. And then there's a couple of other use cases that are there. That's all documented in the article, so definitely reference that.
Mhm.
They do have a rollout schedule for this. What we're going to show today, this is still preview. Technically, it's still preview, so keep that in mind as we're moving through it. It just means things are subject to change. We're going to talk about where they're actually updating the schedule in just a minute, show you a little bit of that. And then when are users going to see that new Teams toggle? Depending on um, the whether your policy internally is to for the targeted release and the early access is whether you're going to see that light up. And your admins can control when your teammates see it. But I've been testing it in both my private environments and in a production tenant. I pretty much run it as my daily driver in my production tenant on Windows, and I've had a great experience there. But the down below, you're going to see the update channel listed. So the public preview program, the targeted release program, those are available now. If you're in the current channel release late September, you should start to see that switch light up. If you're in the monthly enterprise, it's going to be late October. Semi-annual, you're looking at October for your preview, and then if you're in the annual enterprise channel, you might see that in January. And again, just a disclaimer for those of you that are government cloud, they've included that. Next question people have is, when is it going to become the default client? So you're going to be able to pick and choose your own adventure there. But based off of the licensing here, they're saying October of 2023 is potentially when it would become the default client. That implies to me that that's when they're looking to go GA with this, general availability for everyone out there. And then they've just got some more on the various update channels. So that being said, I'm not going to read this whole article to you, just kind of paraphrasing a couple of things. So let's move down, and we're going to start off our deep dive into what features are missing, because that's the thing. Like, we've had the classic client for quite a while now, and people really want to know, well, I can do this in the classic client. Is this available? Because this is the thing that I really need. Off the top of my head, breakout rooms. We'll talk about that in just a little bit, but that's something that some of my users are really wanting, and that might be a barrier to entry for them, not having breakout rooms available. So there's a really great resource from Microsoft. It's from the Microsoft adoption. They link here. But if you go to this particular article, and we'll provide all the links in the show notes, or if somebody out there wants to throw them in the chat, that'd be awesome too. Yeah. But from Microsoft adoption, they put together a really great set of resources. And the thing that we're really concerned with is the features. So you can see this was last updated on September 21st. And it talks about the features in the new teams for both commercial and education. It tells you what's available now. There's a pretty detailed checklist, and then it tells you what's coming later this calendar year. So, for example, you can see Mac, VDI, they're listed as coming later. Some of the advanced calling features like delegation coming later. Access for personal accounts for those of you that are using Teams for personal. And so some things that are popping up and coming later. This one's kind of fun. Avatars. We're going to talk about that in just a little bit, but even with the rate of release and change, they're having a hard time even being keeping up some of the documentation about what's actually changed. But this is a pretty good resource to start with, and then you got some links to share out from that. But some of the things that are missing, those are your resources. But we're going to start here. What features are changing, and we just want to call out some of the things that are going to be a little different. Who's moved your cheese? These are things I think that are important. Microsoft's called it out, and I think it's important that we share some of that with those that are going to be joining in with us here today. So first and foremost on that list is the way that they handle the purple toast notifications. John, you're a little bit more familiar with working with some of that. Do you want to lead off with this one?
Yeah, sure. So I'm going to switch over to my screen here. There we go. And to show some of these features, the structure that we've got here is both Andy and I were running the Mac version of the new Teams client, and we're running the Windows version. So on my screen, if you see the light version of Teams, we'll be looking at Windows. If you see the dark version of Teams, we'll be using Mac OS. And that feature that you brought up about notifications. So if you want to IM me, I think we could see a preview of what this looks like in the new Teams client. I think it's mostly changed in the Windows side, if I remember right. Is that correct?
Well, here we go.
All right, so you're going to send me an instant message to Megan, right? There we go. So you see that down in this corner, hopefully it won't go away while I'm kind of clicking on it, is we've got that toast notification that comes up. Something that is really helpful is that without having to go navigate or click on it to open up that chat, I can say, hey, Andy, hope you're doing well. And there we go. I can send him the chat message back through using a quick message, right? Instead of having to navigate to it or click just to open that. So that's something that hopefully streamlines things a little bit better. You see he's got the the other new emojis, right? And you see a little bit of some of this streamlined UI that was mentioned in the blog post and in the documentation. Is that so? He sent me a high five, and I've got those features where I can do the new reactions. I can basically bring that out. It's got all of my recent reactions. If I want to react to my own thing for some reason, I can do that. It's like patting yourself on the back. But those are available. You have all the, it's like 800 different things. But one thing I've noticed is these helpful little, I don't know what you would call them, but like almost recommended things that you can do in the pop-up, that whenever I switched over to the new Teams client, rather than having to click the dot dot dots and then go to edit my message, it gives me a nice little pencil icon. And I've noticed whenever we get into meetings and you're in a meeting chat where you have the ability to like reply to a specific message, you can, it comes up with that. It's kind of contextually aware where this is my message, so I can edit that message. Andy's message, I can reply to him specifically, so it knows to give me the reply button because that's likely the button that I would want to use. So I can do that, and I can send him this picture if I want to. So that's a couple of the little chat nuances that we've got. And what we want to do as far as like figuring out what's available, what's not available, the difference between Mac and Windows is Andy set up a team for us this morning called the new Microsoft Teams 365 Deep Dive. And we created a Microsoft list, kind of, using the tools that are available at our disposal. And we've been putting in some ideas for what we want to check out. And then we can mark if they're available on Windows or Mac. So at the end of this, I'm hoping that we can have kind of a heat map of what is and isn't available. So I think if we collapse some of these other options here and focus again on those chats, you think first, Andy?
Yeah.
We talked a little bit about some of the fun stuff like the emojis and things like that. You saw that GIFs are available, stickers are available as well. And they're all they've been collapsed under a single button now. So now whenever you open this up, this is kind of similar to how like Discord does it, where you have the ability to do emojis, GIFs, or stickers. And that's if you search, for like metaverse. If you search across, it will search all of those different resources for you. So I saw Dwayne said like high fives. So I can do like high five. And then it gives me, there's an emoji for that. There's a sticker for it. And there's a whole bunch of GIFs for it as well. So I can, get, I guess, a streamlined fun stuff is what they used to call this. It streamlines it a little bit. And then we want to check out the pop-out chats as well. So just like before, this is a pretty critical feature to a lot of folks, is the ability to pop out a chat into a new window. So if I'm talking to Andy over here, but I want to be talking to like Patty over on the side, I can click the pop-out button, and that works just like it did over in the classic Teams. And if we flip over to the Mac version, again, I can do the same stuff. I can go in here, I can add a picture of a gift, and I can pop out this this chat with Pradeep right here. So I think we could mark both of those as green for Mac and Windows, Andy. So if we want
And
to
I
do
think
that,
there's one more thing that we should bring into that conversation. So let me
yeah, go ahead.
into this. So we got our conversation going here. I'm going to pop that out into this window here. So I got that. We're good. And then I'm going to head over here, and I'm actually going to switch up. And 1 second, what I want to switch up is I need to bounce back over to my other one of my other tenants. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to switch over there. And while that's happening, I've switched in the background. I'm in a completely separate location. I'm doing other stuff, other work over here. And as part of that, I'm just going to send a message. And I've sent that message to John in Contoso. but I'm Andy in Andy's tenant going over here and looking for something
Oh
completely
yeah. So the pop
completely
out
different.
chat is tied to the identity that you popped it out from, but you're able to switch that main window using multi-tenant, multi-account and still maintain that chat that you had going in that window, kind of like the Skypey version of having individual chat windows.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'm two places at the same time.
Dude, that's pretty nice. I didn't realize that because I don't use pop out chats a whole lot, but I think I might use pop out chats a lot more now because you can maintain that connection.
You can maintain that conversation while you're doing
Nice.
something completely
Okay.
different, and I'm a big fan of that. And I can
Awesome.
switch back.
I think that's definitely something that we want to keep in mind.
Yep. So we'll circle back on that a couple of times. There's one more thing I want to address here. There there was when we announced this in our social medias. I believe on LinkedIn, I got the comment around it about there was a feature missing related to chat and being able to tag chats. Um,
Hmm.
and I went and looked into that, and I wasn't able to find anything on that. So if anybody in our joining us live has any information or can provide a resource for tagging in chats, classic versus new, would love to share that information with people that are joining in live.
Hmm. Yeah. So to bring something on screen, Daryl is connecting the dots here. That means that yes, you can reply to like an external client chat as your guest account instead of your external account. So you have like more control over like, okay, I want to live in my home tenant, but reply to this external message, or be able to chat with that person so that I kind of have more control over like the rest of teams that I'm seeing.
Yep.
So yeah, to close the loop on that.
And I think that leads into one other thing. So I'm gonna I'm on the Mac client, so I'm demoing that. I'm gonna switch back to
Hmm.
my Andy environment. So I'm over there. I'm in my Andy environment, and I'm doing something else.
Hmm.
You want to send me a message to the Contoso user on the other
Yeah,
side.
yeah, definitely.
So I'm over here. I'm working. I've got my process and my things, and those things are happening. I just heard a ding. I know that's actually coming from my Windows device. But what I wanted to call out is while I'm actually over here working, and I received that notification, I should be seeing an activity notification pop up over here shortly, and that's just going to tell me, hey, something happened on the other side. Something happened in the other tenant. This notification is cross tenant, multi account,
Hmm.
MTMA. So it's going to cross tenant. So it'll tell me when activity is happening. So I don't have to manually follow up throughout the day. It's going to give me that indication that something happened, and then I'm going to be able to quickly switch and keep track. That's been one of the biggest challenges I think with multi-tenant, multi account is, well, I'm over here working. Let me make sure I switch back over to this other one and manually check and see like the messages and things that are coming through so that I don't miss anything from people that are talking to me from their home field versus like where
Hmm.
I have to be working.
You want to show your Windows device? Because I heard it ding twice
Yeah.
over on the Windows side. Like it dinged whenever I sent like, Andy, can you hear me? And then it dings again whenever I did a reaction to one of your things. And
So let
that
me,
whenever you're in the other tenant, you'll see those stack up underneath that notification
yeah.
that he
So
showed in the top corner.
I'm on the Windows side now if you want to send that one back over.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, the reason you heard it is because I was in the Contoso on the Windows side, so it was like I was actually there. So we'll send it back over here. I'm on the Windows side, but I'm on my Andy thing. So you see, like
Mhm.
Megan's sending me a message. I'm getting this notification down here, but up here, that's my Iron Man image. That tells me that I'm in my Andy upskill account. I'm not in the other tenant. So another layer of notifications to potentially manage. Daryl so eloquently put that in the chat. Figuring out
Yes.
notifications with this can be a little tricky, but in the real world, I would hope that you're not going to have the new Teams client open in both Windows and Mac simultaneously and be in multiple environments simultaneously. But yeah.
Yeah, and I'll show real quick how to do that. What Daryl was talking about is like, yeah, you're gonna get notifications for all kinds of things. They're gonna stack up under that top corner. I don't have it because I don't have another notification like unified area. But what you can do is you can go into the settings for new teams, go into notifications and activity, and then you can decide what you get notified about. So down here, there's likes and reactions. I don't want to, get a banner for that or activity. I just want to turn that off. And then now I won't get, a bunch of like, hey, so and so thumbs up your message, things like that. So that's how you can clean that up a little bit. And you do that when you're logged into that tenant. So, if you flip over to your guest account, you can go into the settings, adjust that over if you want to as well. So that's helpful. I'm curious if anybody in the chat knows, like we saw the toast notification pop across, right? That came right up and he could have done a quick reply if he wanted to. But I noticed that the bell icon didn't update for you, Andy. Does anybody know if there's like a polling that happens, so that like after 5 minutes you would have seen that as a bell notification? I don't know that I've tried it in real time before, but it doesn't seem like it was happening immediately like a push.
Yeah, I noticed that as well. It came through the desktop notification. I should point out that this particular Windows environment is non-customized. The only thing that I've done is install apps here. I haven't made any changes to the system notifications. I haven't made any changes to the Teams client other than logging in with the accounts. I wanted to keep it as bare bones as possible for this particular Windows environment.
Yeah, so that'll be something to watch out for. Maybe we can figure out a way to understand like how long does it take for that polling to happen. Dwayne says it takes a few minutes in his experience. Yeah, I can't say that I've noticed because I just work day to day, right? And I'll just notice every once in a while that, oh, I've got like 26 notifications from the Microsoft environment, something like that.
Yeah. So let's continue down some of the features that are changing. The notifications and the overlap with the chat. I think that's really important. So now we know a couple of nuances there. On the article from Microsoft, there's next up is the wikis. In the classic team clients, you could add a wiki to a channel. Now in the new one, you'll no longer see the wiki. You're going to be using the Notes app instead, and that's going to bring in a OneNote notebook into that experience. I think that's an overlap with some of the changes that were happening in the classic teams, anyways. The move away from wikis to OneNote. I don't know if we want to demo that or not because I think the overlap on that one's
yeah, I noticed it in mine. I'm going to flip over. So I noticed that whenever you created this team, yeah, of course there wasn't a wiki there. That's part of that existing change that like wiki is being retired. Now we got that notes field. If you open it up, you'll see that it's generating the Microsoft OneNote note. Yeah, A-Train says yeah, you won't be missed. I definitely agree with that, especially when you see like the note, the collaborative notes and like the loop powered note functionality. Oh my gosh, so much better than like the wiki based notes that we had before in meetings, especially when we get over to that point. But yeah, you see that
Daryl has entered the chat.
Created that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I definitely want to show that when we get into the meetings, the collaborative notes. For me, that is like transformed how we do meetings. It's been probably the biggest significant change I think in the past couple years is meeting notes are like actually useful now, especially how they sync over the tasks and stuff. But yeah, it's not a lot to show. It's just that the wiki is not going to automatically generate whenever you create a new team or a new channel. Yeah.
So if you want to continue demoing, I'll go into the next bullet point that they had in the article. So
okay,
moving down to the next one. Yeah, there you go. There's your files.
Yeah, it didn't make the wiki tab. So yeah, what's the next one?
So next up is adding third-party cloud storage from the Files app and the Files tab in Channels. So in the new client, you'll no longer
Mm-hmm.
see Add Cloud Storage in the Files app on the left-hand navigation bar, and and
Okay.
within the Files tab. So it's not going to show up there. You can add third-party storage, but you're going to have to do it from the Teams app store
Mm-hmm.
now.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I can't say that I've ever used that. The ability to add like a Google Drive or a Dropbox or something like that as a cloud storage to a channel. So you're saying that you would do that as an app
Yep.
up here as like a tab? Okay, so let's see, like,
Well, it's saying
can I do
it's actually saying from the
box?
Teams app store. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, but this is what this is going to do is it's going to add the tab in the background. It's got to install that app into my Teams environment,
Yeah.
right? So I could add the box tab and it will be its own little area inside. I don't want to link a box. I don't have a box account. But yeah, now instead of it being in the files tab, it'll be its own kind of top level tab.
Will you go to the apps on the left-hand nav bar?
Yes. Yeah, let's check out apps here.
Yeah, so you're looking for like a Dropbox
Okay.
or a Box or something like that.
Yeah, which I had done box. I found box and it in the background it installs the box app. So I've got that available now to me. Of course, I'm not logged into it or anything like that, but that adds a little application on the side
Yeah.
instead of it being kind of mixed in with your SharePoint files like it was before.
And let's head back to on the left-hand nav. Let's head back to the
Hmm.
files area.
Yeah, on the main one.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So let's
So
go
this
over
last
here
bit.
to files. Oh, where's that? There it is. It's a purple icon. Okay, so here's the main files area. And yeah, you had the ability to add cloud storage right here, right? Now,
Yeah.
whenever you do more places, it's just going to be SharePoint locations. So if I need the Mark 8 project team or something like that, I can get to it through the more places area if I wanted to. Same with like all these other sites. These are SharePoint sites. They're not, Dropbox or Google Drive
Right.
locations. So,
From
yeah.
from the perspective of an organization that doesn't allow third-party storage, like we work primarily with Microsoft Cloud Storage,
Hmm.
uh, being able to remove that from like the files area just minimizes some of the questions that we might have from teammates. Well, can I add a Dropbox? That's outside of our
Hmm.
enterprise security and compliance. So no, we don't want you to do that. And so now that's just going to minimize those questions coming to us. But I could also see
Hmm.
from the other perspective, I'm a consultant and I have a client, and we use Google Drive. It's going to be a couple extra steps for me to implement something like that in my team's client, so that
Hmm.
I can reference that. It's still possible. It's just it's a couple of extra clicks to get to the same location.
Hmm. Yeah. Back on the wiki subject, there was a, kind of, hey, I really like this for onboarding new members.
It's like The
And
Walking Dead. You can't get rid of the wiki.
yeah, Daryl brought up a good point that I think, if you're using it for onboarding, what you may look at doing is a SharePoint page instead. And you can do that attached to your Microsoft team. So that could be, a really helpful thing is you could add a page. Like if I go to SharePoint, I could add a SharePoint page that I create for onboarding. And what's nice about that is you can use like these rich web parts, so if you want a video welcome message, things like that, or some live like PowerPoint viewers and stuff, you could get that from those SharePoint pages as well. So that might kind of help. You could call that tab like start here or something like that, and maybe link to that instead of a wiki that you were doing before. So I just wanted to point that out because that's kind of a nice hack.
And one more really good one from Dwayne. Search in OneNote versus no search in Wiki. So yet
That's a good
just
point.
another reason to take advantage of the notes feature there.
Hmm. Yeah, you can click the search right here. You can search across either sections or pages to try to find things, and you didn't have that ability before with the
Yeah.
wiki. I think with the wiki, you might have been having to use like the top level search to get what you needed back then.
All right. We're going to
So
head
yeah.
back to chat for the next two bullet points.
Okay. Yeah.
And these kind of coincide or overlap with one another a little bit. So
Mm-hmm.
from the things that have changed in classic Teams client, when you were in a one-to-one chat, you could look up the organizational chart for the person you were communicating with.
Mm-hmm.
Also, you were able in the one-to-one chat to look up LinkedIn for that person. So if they had their
Mm-hmm.
LinkedIn profile connected, you would be able to see that. And what's actually changed on this is that it's not a specific call out in the interface or in the chat, like along the top. What you do now is you actually go to the person's avatar. So whoever you're communicating
Yeah.
with, go to their avatar, their profile photo, and then when
Uh-huh.
you the card pops up, then you would be able within that card to navigate to their organizational chart or their
Mm-hmm.
LinkedIn profile.
Yeah. I was trying to show that it flipped over to another account entirely.
Mm.
In the old Teams, yeah, you had a tab up here at the top for organizational chart. Now what you'll want to do is you'll want to get that from the person card, which if I just mouse over Pradeep here, I can do the org chart. I can see his LinkedIn. Or if I click on his face right here, then it will bring up the larger version of that. I can see who he reports to, all of that type of stuff for
Yeah.
like possible matches. If I show organization, there's Pradeep to Nestor to Patty. So that's how you get to those in the new Teams era. So there's,
I
oh,
like
there you go, accountant at Contoso.
the people card. I liked everything
Uh
being
huh.
under one area. Like when it comes to like trying to find out more information about someone, I that's just super handy, especially in a larger
Hmm.
organization where I might not work with people directly all the time. Just being able to go here, have the small card pop up, get some of that info, and then go into the larger experience. I find that to be really helpful. And then bringing in the
Hmm.
org chart as well as LinkedIn if they want it. That's a nice update.
Yeah. The nice bonus too, if you use this like people card, getting used to using that, it's kind of second nature for me because the other thing it tells me is the time zone the person's in.
Yep.
And in my organization, most people are either Eastern or they're in London or something. I can see what time it is and where they're at.
Yep.
So I'm used to using that already. Now the org chart is just right there, one click away. So,
All right, let's keep moving forward. So next up, in
mhm.
the classic Teams client, when adding a document library, that experience has changed in the new Teams client. So I'm in a
Okay.
team, I'm in a channel, and I want to bring in a document library.
Hmm.
We would tab it in along the top. What's going to be different now is that there's not a standalone app for that. Everything's consolidated under one SharePoint app. Previously, you had a SharePoint document library app, you had a SharePoint app, there was a separate list app. There were a couple of different versions of that. The
Hmm.
new experience has updated that a little bit, and I'll drive
Yeah,
over
you
to
want to
over
demo
this
that
one.
one? Okay. Cool. I've added the
So
org chart thing to our list
yeah.
for tracking.
So like I'm just going to head in and you can see there the bell notification finally came in for me that there was a message over there, so it looks like it was just a couple of minutes like Dwayne said. So let's switch
Hmm.
back into our Contoso environment, and then I'm going to head into one of the teams that we've created. We'll go into one of the channels here, and then along the top we're going to look to add a tab, and
Hmm.
let's just see all. And you see now there's one consolidated SharePoint app in here. So when we select this one, you're going to get a lot of options underneath it. So I'm just waiting on it to load. So now when we go in, uh, it's asking me where this content exists. So the default is the current team that I'm in, but I could select any SharePoint site. So I could broaden this provided I have permissions and access to it. And then
Hmm.
down here, you see it says paste a link to the SharePoint page list or the document library. So it really is a Swiss Army knife for SharePoint. I'm going to go back to the default here. Underneath recommended, it's going to pull out things like the default document library, some of the default pages that are created there, but you have an entire section for just pages. So your site pages library is surfaced much easier. I really like that. I've surfaced a lot of site pages in the work that I do. Your SharePoint/Microsoft list are surfaced a lot easier. And then any document
Hmm.
libraries that you've created in there are also surfaced a lot easier. So truly one-stop shop for all of this. And it's just a matter of selecting the thing, choosing whether you want to post about it, saving it, and then it tabs in. And the tab experience here is pretty fast. I remember it was a little slower in the classic Teams client, but now I've brought in that entire library pretty much in its fidelity that I would experience if I were in uh, the web browser, and I would be able to work with just about the same experience from there. So that's
Mm-hmm.
the new experience when it comes to tabbing in from SharePoint. If I had one piece of of feedback, it would be: can these stop moving around? Can they pick a spot and just stay there, please? Because
Yeah.
when I did this a minute ago, SharePoint was down here. Now I've opened it up and SharePoint's up here. Just put them in alphabetical order and leave them, please.
Mm-hmm.
That's my feedback. It's a moving target every time I open that up.
I know. I usually just have to open it up and search for what what I want. Like you saw me earlier, I searched for SharePoint and it offered it up.
Yeah.
Um, I'm with you on that. Like I don't know, like is it some kind of intelligent way that they're demoing it or something like that? Or yeah, Daryl says like maybe it's mostly used apps or some like most recent
Recently,
apps.
yeah. If it
I
is,
d-
just give
yeah,
me a heads up. I'd love to know. I
say
personally, I would
recently
prefer
used.
alphabetical. That's just the way my head works on this. Well, if it's recent, that's great. But I feel like every time I open it, it's a little different. So
Mm-hmm.
this is the Windows client. Let me actually go over to my Mac. Same thing. So I'm just going to show on the Mac side because we're just trying to give multiple perspectives. Same
Mm-hmm.
channel. And then we'll go in, and from here we'll add, see, same experience, see all. And then now SharePoint's in the lower left-hand corner. like, so we'll just tab in. You see, it's going to be pretty much the same experience that we just saw. I really like that it's the same across both platforms there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All
So
right.
I'll steal the screen again real quick and kind of go to the next thing on the list, which is the activity tab in chats. That's no longer available. So if you remember back in the classic version of Teams, you had the activity where it would show like the the different like what word am I looking for? The different like things that the person has done, like they've shared this file with some with you, the chat things. There's a similar kind of thing available in the Teams area of Microsoft Teams. So if I go into Teams and I'm in the 365 deep dive team, you might have noticed this new kind of like details area for like channel details. This goes to my friend Jason, who was saying something about like I hope it uses my ultra wide monitor a little bit better, so you can see like all this like white space on both sides inside of the channel area, at least right now. I don't know, coming to chat TBD, but in channels you can open up that detail. It slides it over a little bit. That white space got smaller, and not only do you have like the information about like who's in the channel and what the description is, but down here at the bottom, those updates where you can see all, that's the equivalent of like that activity kind of feed. So I can see that like something was changed, somebody was added to the team, all of that. You get like kind of a stream of updates that way. I don't know, Andy, if you use that very much, but I kind of in my actual like EY work, I leave this detailed pane open all the time because I like using that extra space. It's a little bit feels a little bit Yammer community ish to me, where I can see like at a glance how many people are in the channel and stuff.
I'm
But
still
I wanted to
working the
show
muscle
that.
memory in for that, remembering to use it. But I do use it heavily in like SharePoint.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm in like a document library, I just open up the details pane automatically without selecting a document because
Yeah.
it shows like what's happened, what's changed in there recently. It's just a matter of working it into my
Mm-hmm.
muscle memory for Teams to pay attention to what's happening over there. But like you, like I do
Yeah.
like having a high level glance at like what's happening and then
Mm-hmm.
being able to call that out
Yeah.
or
And
pop it out.
Daryl had a really good point here that that description field that pops up, that's a good place that you could, edit that description and you could change that description to kind of say like, oh, this channel is used for this thing or for that thing. I think it's under, yeah, here it is. So
Yeah.
use this question or use this channel, if I can type, channel for questions about adoption. So that's another thing, like onboarding users. It kind of like gives them little hints about what to do where. There you go. It's part of that description field now
Yeah.
on the side. That's a good idea, Daryl. I like that. So, oh yeah, and Dwayne shows mentioned something. That's where your pinned messages would go. So, like if I'm in the, I don't know. Let's see if we can find. Okay, there's a bunch of chats in here. If Miriam, if I want to pin that conversation, go ahead and pin it. Then it shows up right here under pinned. And then I can do that to another one. I can pin multiple conversations now. And you see like the little green thumbtack, they're under that channel details area. So you can kind of see like it's almost like a README file, right? Or something like that in GitHub, where it's like, hey, read these first. You can pin those.
Now go to chat and pin
Mm-hmm.
in chat.
Okay. Yeah. So if I want to pin this, like, we're getting our notes, be right back. So I can see that I pinned a message and it's stuck up here at the top notification area, and I can unpin or I can view it. If I go up and want to pin this one, then it wants to replace it. So in chat, you can only have one thing pinned. In channels, you can do multiples.
And I'm going to grab it for a second because I want to show the
Yeah, man.
comparison. So we saw John pin that over there. This is what I'm seeing on my end. So it's telling me as part of the activity in this chat that Megan Bowen has pinned something, and I do see that pinned thing up at the top. I'm seeing that on the Windows side, and we'll head over here to the Mac version as well, and we'll head into the chat. And you see I'm getting the exact same messaging over there, and I'm seeing the high five. Now I'm going to hijack it, and I'm going to try and pin something of my own up there. So we'll take this one, and we're going to pin it. So I'm going to replace the currently pinned message. That's going to replace it over there. And you can go and see down here, Andy's updated that, and heading back over to the Windows side, it should have done that. But what I want to see now is bringing John back over to the screen. If it's updating and we're actually seeing the same thing along the top.
Yeah, I saw that live.
We ran into a few weeks back in some of our testing, we ran into some nuances with that about the pinning and it not necessarily showing up for everybody on the Windows side of things. When we were pinning inside of a specific group chat that we had, there were a few of us in there. So it looks like some of that's been worked out.
Yeah, that's good. You definitely want that to stay in sync for sure. A-Train had an interesting question that was, does anybody know if the new channel post types are coming over into the new team? So like, whenever you go in here and you start a new post, what you can do is you can make it an announcement or you can make it a regular post type. I think Megan's not an owner, so she can't make an announcement type of post. Actually, she can. So post or announcement. I forgot where it was. So you can flip between those, but you can't make something into a question necessarily. So that is definitely a gap that would be nice. I think potentially what could help would be someday whenever Loop is available, maybe you would use some of those different types of assets or those types of posts. Maybe you could use a Loop component in those types of things. I know I've done that in the one-on-one chat where you got the Loop icon at the bottom right here. So say I wanted to do like question and answer, stuff like that. I could actually have a question and answer session based out of Loop by using the Q&A right here. And then I could go ahead and I could send that off in here. And then we could have a collaborative Q&A and kind of build an FAQ together. So that's one thing that you could do inside of a chat. But I agree, kind of getting into the mix of a Yammer or Viva Engage, world, it'd be nice if you could have something be a question and have like a correct answer. inside of a channel itself, but not available yet, at least what I've seen. A-Train, I don't know if there's anything on the roadmap that anybody shares in the chat for that.
All right. Next up on that list, we have in the classic Teams client, there was the ability to save messages and files in Teams. And in the new client, it says that this is going to be replaced later this year with a similar feature and that it's no longer available. So this is when you go into a message in the upper right-hand corner, look for the meatball menu, and then the save option. And you can save things from a chat, or you can save a message. You can save a file inside of a post. So we'll say they're going to replace that later this year.
Yeah.
And if you want me to drive on that, I'll show that.
Yeah, go ahead and show that part over there. Jay has a question on here. He says, he heard that Microsoft might be pushing back the default into 2024. That would be interesting. I haven't heard anything about it potentially being pushed later than October. What I will say is I did notice that if you look really, really closely at both of us, but like Andy's showing the screen right now, on the Teams icon, it used to say pre in like yellow. Now it says new in teal. So like they're kind of getting the branding updated to show that like this isn't in preview anymore. It's it's the new Teams instead of preview. So I don't know. Everything I've heard is I think it's still rolling towards that October date, but that'd be interesting to see if it gets delayed.
All right, so I'm showing here, I'm in a chat, I've got a message over here, and previously we go to the meatball menu and you'd see an option to save, and even expanding in more actions inside of here. I'm not seeing anything in order to save and be able to get back to that. And then you would be able to go along the top, and there was, I believe, a section in here for saved, and you'd be able to see all the saved messages that you had. And if you went into a channel, you could do the same thing. You would see a save option up here as well. I would save stuff, but like the bookmark clients that I typically use, with the exception of one, when I saved things, they just went into the black hole, and I would never really follow up on them. Like the default reader on my web browser, I wouldn't never actually go back and use it. But I can tell you from a production environment standpoint, we discovered something that was, I guess, a bit of a bug or an error. In the classic Teams client, if you were to go and you were to save something, and you went into that save dialog, it would kind of show up over here. Imagine a picture, a list of things that I had saved over here. We have a retention policy on our chats, and the retention policy was for 30 days, and anything older than 30 days is supposed to be deleted per retention. But we found that if you were to if you were to save something from a chat conversation, and you went back and you looked at the list, you would still get most of the message. You wouldn't get all of it, and if you clicked on it, the message was gone, but it would still show up partly in the interface. And so that was kind of a little bit of a issue with retention policies, especially trying to get rid of those things that were older than 30 days. But as we can see here in the new client, there's no saved message for later. There will be something rolling out later. So again, a bit of feedback for our colleagues at Microsoft. Please double check that whatever you implement for saving messages and or content for later is fully respectful of the retention policies that our organizations put in place, because there was still some stuff peeking through even with those retention policies enabled.
Yeah.
Right.
The next thing on the list here is about presence. And it's you used to have the ability in classic Teams where you could it was like subscribing to somebody's changes in their presence. So you would get an alert if somebody went from away to available, something like that. It sounds like you can't do that anymore because it says you select the user's avatar to see their online status, when they're available, that type of stuff. So I'll show that real quick in the chat context. So if I look over here and we're looking at Pradeep, he's offline right now. In the past, I would be able to like, get notified on him. Like, yeah, tag for updates is what it was called back in the day, but that's not available now in the new teams. Instead, what they're recommending is that if you mouse over the person and you get this like people card that pops up, it will say that they're offline. But here's the other detail is they're free all day, or it will say like busy until 8:30 or something like that. So that gives you an indicator of when they're available at the next time. And then, as I mentioned before, you have that time zone thing to kind of understand, like, oh, it's a different time for this person. Maybe that's why they're not offline or something like that. But yeah, it looks like you can't tag for updates like you used to be able to do. I guess micromanagers will be bummed out about that. I personally kind of like that going away because I don't know. I kind of just send me an instant message. This is a persistent chat client. If you want to ask me a question, you can send me a chat when I'm offline. I don't have to be green to get a message. So I kind of don't see a big deal, but I could see people who like if they're, in a more I need to know where people are type of environment, like in retail or something like that, maybe it's a bigger deal to them that you should be aware of. So, any thoughts about
in
that, Andy? I mean,
in
you work
my
in a
environment.
healthcare space, so availability is important.
Well, in my environment, we try to scale our resources as much as we can. We're a small team supporting a large user base, and
Hmm.
if we don't put people through bookings to request time with us, and they just try to, hey, I noticed you were available. Can you answer a quick question? A quick
Hmm.
question is never a quick question. A quick
Yeah.
question typically snowballs and it turns into something much bigger. So
Hmm.
we I don't want to say hide behind our calendars, but we have to have our calendars as as kind of a line of defense so that we can
Hmm.
maximize our ability to scale and work across the enterprise. So as long as it respects my calendar, that's great. It'd be cool if I could, replace that with you want time with me? How about bookings?
Yeah.
And then we'll figure something out from there.
Yeah. One thing I'll offer up too is, as much as I kind of hate it personally, you do have the ability to like mark things as important. So you could mark as important. You can also mark as urgent, and it will actually notify the person every 2 minutes. So if you really want to be like, hey, where are you? You could use an urgent notification. Again, I kind of hate that, but it depends on the industry you're in. There certainly are valid use cases where you might need that type of tracking of people, like where they're at. So, um, what's the next one on the list here?
Um, the settings dialog. Settings is now an app access from the more options meatball menu in the title bar.
Okay, try to digest what that says.
So,
The setting dialog.
or
Okay,
sorry,
yeah. So they've moved that upper corner of like where the settings are to get to the app settings. That's what they're talking about, right?
I'm trying to wrap my head around that one.
Yeah, so essentially what it means, I wish I could go into classic mode because like it logged me out and kind of did something weird. But essentially when you went into settings before
hmm,
for the Teams application, it was a pop-up, right? It kind of was like a hovering window. Now it's a full-blown application. So it kind of takes over the whole interface. When you go into settings, you've got all of your options along the side to kind of go through. Some of these I think are a little bit consolidated uh, under like less headers, but basically like you have more space for all of your settings to be rendered than what you had before. Like here's the devices option, so I can go in here. I can change my audio. I can adjust my camera, stuff like that. You can still get to it. It's just it's more of a like full run experience instead of a pop-up window.
yeah.
So I guess that's worth mentioning. I don't know. That seems like a really small minor thing to me. So
And then continuing on that same, yeah, you've got it already pulled up. The about links in the
yeah.
more options menu meatball menu. They're now in the settings app under the about teams category.
Okay. Yeah. Whoop-de-doo. Same with help. The help button is now located under the more options in the title bar instead of being in the bottom corner. Again, you used to have a help button down here in the bottom corner that my name is covering right now on Restream. Now, if you want to get to help, you click the meatball menu at the top, then you can get to help, and you can like report a problem, you can submit a bug, stuff like that. So yeah, they've moved your cheese to the upper corner. Yeah, not a huge deal, I don't think. Ability to build Teams personal apps using adaptive cards. That's something I don't know about much because I haven't ever built Teams apps. Do you know if that affects your org at all, Andy? If you guys were using personal apps that had adaptive cards coming in?
Not that I'm aware of. Yeah, so that
More
might be
help.
one we pin for another time. I know we talked about adaptive cards as part of some Power Automate previously, but this is in the
Hmm.
context of building personal apps. That sounds like something fun to explore. Personal apps,
Yeah.
maybe some personal productivity apps, and what we can do there. So maybe we'll
Hmm.
circle back to that in another deep dive in the future, or maybe somebody who's joining in with us today wants to. Fill us in on some of that, maybe as a guest on a future episode. That'd be kind of cool too.
Hmm.
So let us know. We have all kinds of different social media channels that you can engage with us on. I'm going to shamelessly
Hmm.
pull these up on the screen.
Yeah,
So we
on our
get John's
LinkedIn's and
LinkedIn
stuff.
up in
Hmm.
the corner there. Leave that there for a moment, and then we'll switch out, and I'll bring mine up. But if you have any experience with that, or if you want to do some demos on it, let us know. It'd be kind of cool to have some guests on the show for that.
Hmm. The next one also is like a whatever type of thing, which is general appearance changes, like colors are updated, stuff like that. I think what they're saying here is like basically they're going more with that fluid design language because they're not as constrained by what you could do inside of oh, I just lost the word of like what was the container they were using before new teams? Not Chromium, but the containerization technology. They're not constrained by that as much. Now they can use more of like the native things in the operating system to kind of do theming and general look and feel.
You're talking about Fluent framework.
No, the what was it called that like every app is built on? It's like includes Electron. Yes,
Uh,
Electron. They're
Gotcha.
not constrained by Electron anymore. So I guess they were able to kind of advance some of their fluid design concepts. The ability to use tags in the add member dialog. Apparently now there's an advanced flow for tagging. So if I am going in here and I'm going to add a new member to this channel, oh, you might have to show this because you're the owner, Andy. So like go into the team and add a new member. And then you should have the ability, I guess, to add tags at that time. So add members. You could add like, I don't know, Nestor or something. Yeah, Adele. Click on her. She's going to be a member. I'm not seeing where you can add a tag to that person. I guess go ahead and add her, and then let's go into the team and go into the tags and see if it's there instead. So let's go into manage team. Then tags, the tags at the top. Yeah, that tab right there. Oh, maybe it wasn't doing it because you didn't have any tags. So yeah, 365 deep dive team. You can add people to it, things like that. Yeah, Daryl's saying that. Yeah, you should. It would be adding a member and a tag at the same time. He said he saw it about a month ago, but hasn't seen it since. Maybe that's one of those out of date things, like they pulled that feature back, maybe or something. I guess you have a tag now. Can you try adding somebody to the team again? And now that there is a tag, does it offer to tag them? So do
Mm,
Nestor because he's not in it. No. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Letitia's saying it was there last week, but Now it's not there. Okay.
There are a couple of different ways. I mean, like once you got the tags created, it looks like it's pretty straightforward to
Yeah.
add people to that. That's a change in workflow. That's because I'm used to creating the tags and then and managing here. I don't know. I kind of like the workflow of here's this person, member, owner. Here's the tag, and then kind of moving on. So I would have to like really play with this to um, see if the switch, the move over is really beneficial. Like, I mean, this is cool. Like right here, here's this group. Let me go ahead, start a chat with them, and it automatically brings them in. That saves a little bit of time, but I gotta drill down into that. So I have to play with that a little bit to really understand if
Interesting.
that's going to make sense for my workflow or not.
Yeah. So the last thing in this list from the Microsoft document was that the org chart is in the person card, not in
Yeah.
a tab by itself. So we already covered that.
Yep.
I think, would you like to move on to meetings and like create a meeting and start looking at like what's missing in the meeting experience?
Well,
Or do you
I
think we
think
should
we have
dive into
one thing
apps
we need to
more?
cover before we get into that, and
Okay.
we're circling back on this. And Daryl specifically asked us as a call out to circle back on it. So I think now's a good time to do that as we get into the meetings conversation. So the thing that Daryl wanted us to bring up, and I'll bring this back up into the chat so we can see it. So one
Okay.
second, let me go ahead and grab that that message. So the time it takes to start up teams and be signed into those multiple accounts. I think that's a great call out. And I think we need to spend a couple of minutes on multi-tenant, multi-account, even beyond what we've done so far. So just quickly, I'll close out.
Yeah. He's saying that it doesn't seem to be fast when you have multiple tenants and multiple accounts.
All right. So closed out. We'll just double check. Right over here, we'll quit. So I'm logged out, a bunch of different places.
All right, hold on. I'm going to start a stopwatch.
All right, you let me know when you're ready.
New iPhone. Stopwatch.
Everybody just
clock.
start counting in the chat.
Right.
1,
Okay,
2,
you ready?
3.
All right, you ready?
Ready.
Tell me when you click.
And go.
Okay. Real scientific.
All right. Still
Okay,
loading.
so yeah. The launch and rendering of the window was 8.9 seconds. And then there you go. So now you've got the other, and it was about 15 seconds to get get it to start showing your accounts.
Yeah. So with
He
that,
says
let's
now
switch over.
switch to another account. Yeah.
So into the other account. So let's switch
Yeah,
to
it seems like once it's logged in, it's nice and quick. But yeah, it kind of needs to build that account list. Is that what you're saying, Daryl?
All right. So that's the login experience when you have multiple tenants there. So definitely wanted to show that. That's a good call out, Daryl. And then just briefly, let's spend a couple minutes on MTMA, multi-tenant, multi-account. So you see, I'm actually logged in as 3 separate people, 3 separate accounts. I've got 2 demo accounts, and I've got another account that I work with. And switching back and forth between them, it's pretty straightforward. And we've showed, we can be in chat in one place, and we can go and view the other tenant in the other. But what I wanted to call out here is even within a tenant, it's easy for you to go up here. So I can switch between different accounts, but like we've been able to do in the classic teams, I can take this one account and switch between a couple of other tenants as guests. So I'm like guests in all of these off to the side. Easy enough to switch there. But now I'm able to actually jump across other to another account and be a member of that organization versus that guest experience. And as far as like adding in additional accounts, the process is like super easy.
Mm-hmm.
Sign in from there, and depending on the device that you're on, if that identity exists on the machine already, it goes ahead and pulls up a list of them. So like I have another machine over here, and when I go to log in as another account from the add another account option, I get a list of all the other tenants that I already have, and I can just pick from it, and it just simplifies the login process, and that's like super nice. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so that makes that really easy. So just the nuance: this one account can be owner, member, whatever in this tenant, but it can also be a guest in these corresponding tenants. So now there's 5 that I can jump into, but I can still add other accounts to that and switch
Mm-hmm.
over the back and forth between those. And so I truly can be in a bunch of different places at the same time. So that's on Windows. I'm going to get the same experience if I'm on the Mac. And you see
Mm-hmm.
there, like it's bringing up um, the other listing that I was mentioning. That's really handy.
Yeah, it's like
It,
cache.
it's cache those credentials, yeah.
Yeah.
Now that means on the Mac world, as John experienced earlier today, sometimes clearing that cache of user accounts that you're logged into means you're going to have to go into your keychain and delete the credentials to reset it, and then you'll
Mm-hmm.
be able to free the Mac client up to be able to log in appropriately. Um,
Mm-hmm.
uh,
Said the feature should be called omnipresence because of how easy it is to go back and forth. I think another thing with MTMA to get over to meeting functionality would be to show off the simplified launching of meetings between tenants. Like if I maybe the best way to demo it, Andy, would be if I create a meeting and invite you to it, have you in your other tenant, and then I'll start the meeting and request you to join and show that you can join the meeting without messing up your other tenant that you were in. Does that make
Sounds good.
sense?
Yeah, I'm gonna hang
Okay.
out over here, and
All right. So I'm going to schedule a meeting then for today, and we're going to call it, I don't know, something about an urgent meeting with Andy. Oh, there it is. I was like, I'm clicking the button. Why isn't it popping up? It's over on my other screen. So, one-on-one with Andy. So we do that. We invite him to it, and I'm going to send that off, and then I'll launch it from Megan, and we'll go ahead and invite him. So he doesn't even know he's been invited to a meeting. He's just over in his, guest tenant or his home tenant doing his own thing. And so I'm going to launch the meeting from Megan. I'm joining the meeting. Don't use audio. So I got the meeting up. Be like, where is Andy? He's unaware that he's supposed to be in this meeting right now. So I'm going to send him a request to join. And you'll see he's getting called on his Mac right now, but he hasn't switched away from his Iron Man stuff. So he's getting it on Windows and Mac. Go ahead and accept that.
where do I want to join from?
Okay, you're joining from the Windows side.
Should be joining from the Windows side. I clicked on
Yeah,
it.
there we go. So it's popping up. You see Katoso in the top corner right there. And it's joined from that location. I can see now Andy's in the meeting. So you can get to your meetings from either side. I've noticed this whenever I have like Microsoft meetings or something like that. It'll ask like, do you want to switch the tenant or not? I can go ahead and hit skip and join from that side if I want to. But it doesn't take you out of your flow of work whenever you get like, an IM or a meeting join request, something like that.
So I think the other thing to call out about
Even
that
works with
is
channel
that
meetings, Dwayne said.
it's intelligently directing you to the right tenant to get the best experience in that meeting. So
Mm-hmm.
if I'm in my Andy tenant and I have a meeting coming up with you and the John tenant, traditionally I would need to switch from Andy and then head over
Mm-hmm.
to the Collabmore lab and then I would be able to participate and have the best experience. And that's especially important with channel meetings, because my ability to engage with the chat and whatnot. And now it's intelligently doing that behind the scenes. It knows, hey,
Yeah.
you're here, but you really should be over there. We're going to go ahead and direct you over there so that you get the best experience. The mobile's done that for a while. I'm really excited to see that coming through here on the desktop client.
Yeah. I was going to see, I don't think I've invited you as a guest. Your upskill tech. I don't think I have in there, because I was wondering if I could invite your guest account and then have it offer up that whole, well, hey, do you have a guest account? Do you want to join from that tenant or from your home tenant?
Send it over.
Because
we'll find
it
out.
will intelligently do that as well. So yeah, let's see if I can do this. So I'm going to open up that meeting again. I'm going to switch over to my screen. So I'm going to edit that meeting that's going on, and I'm going to add Andy at upskilltech.com. And it looks like he's not a guest in the tenant yet. So let me get out of that, and I'll add you to like a team, so that you have like a guest account. So like I think I'm an owner of this one. Yeah, add member Andy at upskilltech.com. So it's going to add him as a guest, which creates like the little like parentheses guest account in the Azure AD environment, or intra ID environment now that we call it. I wonder if this is going to be this fast or not. To edit that, go into Andy at Upskill Tech.
I've already gotten an email.
Oh, you have? Okay.
Yeah.
That didn't show it as guest, but I'll go ahead and send the update anyway. And then you are logged in to your home tenant, right?
I am.
So you're not logged into Contoso. So I'm going to rejoin that meeting. And then we're going to bring over your screen and see what it looks like when I request you to join.
So
with your Upskill Tech account.
Yeah. So I've already got the Outlook reminder on my desktop, and I've got the Teams notification up here.
So it says external next to me.
And
so I think you would accept that.
I'm going to transfer to this device. And then I'm going to decline that guy over there. All right, so I'm in.
Well, you're in as Collab More Lab. You're not in as Upskill Tech.
Was that Collab More? Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, so you're in using Contoso. And I see your little like piranha plant on my side.
Oh, because on my screen, this is my Andy at Upskill.
I'll call you using that again.
It doesn't help that I'm running two computers on the same computer.
Yeah, I think it's ringing in the background on your Mac, isn't it? Or your PC. Yeah, accept it from that one. And you see that it shows William Honeycutt at the top up there.
Yeah.
You were able to join from that tenant. So I think we just got like all knotted up into a mess.
Yeah,
we tried to test that out.
For the recording, and just so everyone's aware, I'm using a Mac, but I'm using Parallels and I'm running Windows in the Mac. So I'm two computers at the same time, and I have one more over here that I've got another guest on to send things over. So like I'm hearing things in three different places. So this is not the use case for everyone. I would log into one machine and be in that one place.
Yeah, Daryl loves Parallels. I'm just using RDP for mine. I'm using another laptop.
Windows is incredible. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's nice. Okay, so you want to hop into this meeting in the interest of time and go through some of the meeting features in the new teams, like breakout rooms, polls, avatars, the all-important one that Spencer mentioned at the beginning, Stream Deck support, stuff like that. Let me go ahead and join that meeting. All right, so we're in here together now. There we go. Okay, so I think the first one is like adding applications to this and being able to like see if we can do like meeting polls and stuff like that. So I'm going to do an app. We're going to add an application, and it's got polls right here. So we're going to add that app for us. Couldn't save your tab. So it looks like we're not able to add those applications, which I think has been identified as a gap, right? I could do like AI producer, and we'll see that it can't save the tab.
Yeah, I'm getting the
Okay,
same
so it's
thing there.
trying to on that one. Oh, it wants me to like consent on behalf of my organization. Whatever, it's a demo environment. Something went wrong. Yeah, so it's looking like I can't add forms and polls to this meeting, unfortunately.
And there is the document, and I put this in the
There we go.
live stream chat for anybody that's joining in, of known issues specific to the Windows client, and apps does show up underneath there. You can't install or uninstall any app in Teams yet. Only apps installed in Classic Teams are going to show up. So if you add it, says if you add it in the Classic Teams, it should appear into the new Teams, and then other features are still pending. So it looks like that's one that we're still waiting for an update on.
Yeah, so it looks like the old version, which is called Microsoft Forms, that worked, but the new one that it's warning me about, it wouldn't let me add that polls app to the meeting. I wonder if I leave the meeting and try to add it as a tab to the meeting itself. So polls is right here. I'm going to remove that, and then I'm going to add it back in using the actual polls name. It's saying it can't do it for some reason. Let's try it from Windows and see if there's any difference there. So edit. We got the tab for polls. Yeah, it's airing out on there, but I can add the old one. For breakout rooms, this was interesting is I was the organizer, but I didn't have the rooms icon, but I have a tab for rooms. So it's saying, hey, you need to join the meeting in order to manage your rooms. We go here, we join now. We've got an icon for rooms up here in the top corner. Let's see if that opens up. So it did open up the application. I can create a couple of different rooms, automatically assign people, and it looks like that application's working. There we go. So I can go ahead and auto assign all these people. I can open the rooms, and it would yank Andy out of this meeting into the breakout room. So you'll see he's moving. So he's probably getting like a countdown timer on his side.
Yep.
That tells him, yeah, in 10 seconds, it's going to pop you out. So he's getting moved over to the breakout room. See, I'm by myself again. I see that Andy is in that breakout room. If I close it, or let's try sending an announcement. Testing 1, 2, 3. We send that in, and yes, it did send a message to that breakout room. And then we're going to close the room. It should kick Andy out of the room and bring him back in with Megan. So here in 4 or 5 seconds, it should show Megan's picture again because he's brought back into the central meeting. There we go. So room management, breakout rooms, that stuff seems to work just fine in the new Teams. So that's good. I'll mark that on the list that we've got, the Microsoft list. So I've been going through and updating these things on the list, like pop-out chats. Yes, that works on Windows. It works on Mac. The fun stuff, the org chart and the people card, that works in both platforms. The breakout rooms, I think we can say that works confidently. What do you think about polls, Andy? Should we mark that as a no since it wasn't the new meeting polls?
Yeah,
Functionality?
the new meeting pulse is the one that I'm looking for. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that didn't work for us. What about NDI streaming, camera effects, and avatars? So the camera effects, we could probably show that fairly quickly in here. So I'm on my Mac. I'm going to go ahead and join that call from my Mac so I can use this camera here. So I'm going to transfer the call to this device, and we'll see right here that I'm going to turn on my camera. There's my camera. I'm going to do effects and avatars. So I can change the background. I can add a front filter onto it here. So it's going to add a custom filters application. And now I've got that thing going. I also can adjust brightness. So you see how I got a little bit brighter, and I can make myself soft focus. So it's looking like all of those camera effects do work. There we go. And there's Andy with all of his fancy stuff as well. So I think we can say that camera effects work, right?
It was. I'm on the Windows side. Were you on the Mac side?
I was on the Mac side, yes.
Okay. Yep. So yeah, that checks both of them off.
Okay, cool. And it's not only backgrounds, it's also those animations on the foreground, soft focus, the augmented lighting effects, that type of thing. What do you think? You want to do NDI first or avatars first?
Let's do avatars.
Okay, let's check out avatars. So we are in this meeting right now, and I have not created an avatar yet. So if I go down to effects and avatars, click on avatars, I haven't created one yet. So I'm going to go ahead and create an avatar in this meeting, and I'm on a Mac right now. Andy's probably doing it over on his side. Oh, there we go. There's the avatar thing. So we're going to make that a little bit bigger so you guys can see what I'm doing. And there we go. So let's find a guy with a beard. There we go. He's looking pretty woodsy today. So I can go through here. I can, change like skin tones, things like that. I can change the hairstyle, the color. I'm going to go ahead and change my facial hair. Not quite as long, make it a little bit lighter color like that, and do some stuff. I'm going to do the wardrobe and show that one of my favorite things now is the Clippy t-shirt. So I can do that now and change the color. So we're going to save that. Then I guess I can just close out of that. Now I have an avatar. I'm going to change over to my avatar. There we go. And if I wave, it does the animation. I can change the background of my avatar, do all of that. So looks good. Chef's kiss, avatars work.
All right.
Were you able to do that on your side?
Interestingly enough, I'm on the Windows side of the house, and like I was in the meeting a moment ago. There was Andy with the background, the animated background or whatever. When I was doing some testing last night, I was able to create an avatar on the Mac side, which is really, really cool. Built it out, and like I'll show you. So you're seeing what I'm seeing right now. Like I'm gonna go in, like just turn on the camera, so camera's on. But as you were building yours, I kept switching to like, so I'm gonna just apply this, so there's nothing there, and then I'm gonna go into my avatar. But what I'm getting at is my avatar crashed twice while it crashed the Teams client on the Windows side twice while you were building your avatar.
Oh, really? Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, let's see if that does it to me on my Windows device, because maybe it's a Parallels thing.
Yeah. In the meantime, I'm going to go
Parallels
to the Mac
would never
side, and I'm
do you wrong.
going to join over there and see what happens.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to join from my PC over here, and I'm just going to join as normal. There's Megan, and I'm on here with Andy. We're going to go into effects and avatars. You'll see, so there's Andy from his Mac computer. I see his avatar. I'm going to select my avatar I built on my Mac. I'm going to change the background, and we're going to apply it. And it's loading. Loading. There we go. Chef's kiss. It works. So yeah, maybe it was a U thing. And I'm doing mine on a Dell 5530, I think. is what it is. So I'm doing it on a Dell like hardware
Yeah.
PC.
So it might be related to Parallels. That's something to
Okay.
maybe check out. But Avatars
All
works
right. I think
on
we
the
can
Mac
say
side.
yes. Yeah. I think we can say yes, maybe as long as you're not trying to virtualize Windows. So NDI streaming, that's the next thing on the list on here. So if I go over on my Mac, I don't think I have enabled streaming in this environment, have I? I do certain things. I got like cart captions, things like that. You know what? I don't think I have NDI turned on in this tenant, so I'm not sure if I'll be able to show that or not. Am I missing something? I have music mode. Isn't it a setting inside of here? It's been a while since I've done it. Oh, Dwayne says in the chat that there's hardware requirements for avatars. Maybe it's something with the CPU in your VM or something. 6 gigabytes and 2 cores. Maybe you were starving your thing for resources or something.
Yeah, I'll look into that after this is over. I am using Parallels. I am using a Mac with the M1 Max chip, so I'll see what kind of uh, resources that I gave it. It's also running the Windows on ARM build, so I wonder if that has something to do with it as well. But I'll look into that. Thanks for pointing that out.
Okay. Yeah, I'm curious though. I wonder if it's a fact that I don't have NDI on my environment that I'm not seeing it. Does anybody know in the chat if NDI works in new teams? Has anybody tried that? Because I think I might be ill prepared with my tenant. So we're gonna go in here to teams and see if NDI is turned on.
Yeah, I'm just double checking the settings on my end, and I'm not.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's under meeting settings, maybe, or meeting policies. That's where it's at. So the global org-wide default, NDI, content sharing, live captions, audio, video, live streaming is turned on. RTMP is turned on. Yeah, they renamed that, didn't it? To live streaming or something. Oh, there we go. Broadcast production on NDI and SDI. So yes, it looks like I have it turned on in my environment, but it's not available in the new Teams client. So somebody correct me if I'm wrong. Dwayne says he's not seeing it. So yeah. Daryl's saying he hasn't used NDI since 2019. Yeah, I'm not in a role anymore where I'm using this in my daily work using NDI. So I'm gonna say no right now until we're corrected because I don't see it. Dwayne doesn't see it. So yeah, NDI. We'll go to feature testing. We'll mark that as a no. Looks like you got to go back to classic teams for that. Oh wait, no and no. There we go. Okay. The other thing which is not in here is I'm going to mark it as a meeting feature, but that is Stream Deck support. And that one we're just going to have to mark as a no because we know that it's not available. If you go in to your settings, you would have the device API. I think it's under privacy. It's like down at the bottom in the classic teams, but that is not available yet. So that's my biggest sticking point with using the new teams. I've personally been using the new teams for I think about 2 or 3 weeks now, and I've just been doing without the Stream Deck buttons, but it definitely has been painful because I really like it for like doing reactions and muting and unmuting my microphone. So I don't know. What's your take on that, Andy? Has that been preventing you from using the new teams, or
No.
have you just been doing without?
Yeah. I love the Stream Deck, but that's not the game changer for me. For a meeting, I've got some other things that are higher on my
Hmm.
priority list, and that's not a deal breaker for me.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of how I am. I really, really like it. I think if I didn't have a bunch of team certified devices on my desk, to like other ways to mute and unmute myself, I'd be more upset about it. But yeah, I did see in the chat Dwayne said, or no, Michelle, he was saying that from what he's heard, let me see if I can find it here. Yeah, he was telling Spencer from what he's heard, the Stream Deck plugin for Teams 2.1 is almost ready. So I haven't seen on our roadmap when we might anticipate that coming, but I know that will be a big game changer. I know people in production environments, like, or, video production, like they're going to need NDI. They're going to probably want or need Stream Deck support for different things. So, yeah, some of those for just having like, better access to your reactions and starting and stopping recording, stuff like that will be really helpful. So that's a no.
Speaking of reactions, I just want to give a shout out to everybody in the chat, keeping the conversation lively and the questions coming in.
Yeah,
That's
thanks for
that's really
throwing things at
cool.
us.
See, my buddy Daniel Christian has joined the chat. Check out Daniel's YouTube, new videos every Monday.
Yeah.
He does some really cool stuff out there. Daryl's got a question out there. I want to bring up consistent support for Rode USB. USB-C mics or just USB mics. We'll get some clarification there. That being said, Daryl, I'm using the
Interesting.
Rode NT USB Mini. That's for this
Hmm.
broadcast here, and for all of my meetings, this is my primary microphone because it's it's the most accessible. I've got it pulled in and out. I haven't had any issues with the new Teams client and the NT USB Mini.
Yeah, he's saying he's got some trouble just with Teams, but not with other apps. I can't test that anymore because I actually sold my wireless Go 2 because I wasn't using it. So I sold it on Facebook Marketplace. I don't have any Rode mics anymore at this time. But I've been having trouble with my Elgato Wave XLR recently, though. I think it's a power issue where like I go to plug in my laptop and like this microphone doesn't work until I unplug and plug in my Elgato again. But I think maybe I'm pulling too much power for like all my different capture cards and stuff.
So
The
what's
one
left
thing we didn't
on our
show
list?
yet, the one thing that we're missing is switching tenants during a meeting. Are you still in the meeting, Andy?
I can be. Give me 1 second.
Okay, yeah, let's jump back in the meeting and then let's have you switch tenants while you're in the meeting because that's the last thing for meetings.
All
I'm
right.
gonna transfer this to my device.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and
Okay.
I'm gonna bring me up. All right. So I see you. You're in the
Yeah.
meeting, and I'm gonna go in the background and hold on 1 second. All right. So well, by default, I'm in two places.
You're already doing.
Yeah, I'm in Contoso, but I'm also in my Andy. But
Mhm.
I'll switch. Like I'll go back here and I'll switch over to my other tenant in the background, and I'm still in the meeting. So yeah, that's
Okay. Yeah. So you can be a foot in both places. You can continue chatting and doing channel messages, things like that from your home tenant while you're logged into a meeting in a guest tenant, is basically what we're talking about there.
yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So we can mark that as a yes for that. That covers our MTMA features. And we've gone through everything with meetings. The last thing to check as we kind of land here is the app experience. So managing applications, using Teams apps, and managing stuff on your sidebar. There was some stuff in that known issues list that I think is a little bit out of date, to be honest, because from what I've noticed, I haven't had trouble using and managing Teams apps, but I know a lot of other people do use applications more than I do. So I guess some of those, like if we want to try installing a Microsoft Teams app, I can just go into the store, install SurveyMonkey, right? And now SurveyMonkey is available. It's in an app right here. Let's pin it to the sidebar so we can rearrange our sidebar. I can move things around. It seems to be working fine. If I go over to this side, I don't know how long it's going to take to show up uh, on my PC, but hopefully, let me sign out and sign back in, I guess. Or let me just quit and reopen Teams and see if that sidebar like kind of followed me to my other device. Dang it. My mouse is getting squirrely. Okay, so Teams preview. See how it says new right there? That's what I was talking about. That's how you're going to know it's the new version. It used to say pre on it. So news. I'm going to close that thing out. And there's the SurveyMonkey. Should be installed. Yeah, there it is right there. And so it didn't travel over on from my Windows to my Mac, but on the Windows side, I'm also able to pin and rearrange that. Let's go ahead and uninstall it to make sure we can add apps, we can remove apps. So I've uninstalled that, it's disappeared. If I go back over to this side, it disappeared out of that sidebar over on that side. So I think we can mark those as yes. I think that might be an update that Microsoft has to make to their known issues list, because at least for me on Windows and Mac, I'm able to rearrange things and use those applications. We saw that in the polls app. In SurveyMonkey was just a chat application, so it's not a super heavy lift. I guess another app that we used that was like a full application was the Avatar Builder. That's a Teams app. So yeah, I'm gonna mark all those as a yes. What do you think we're missing? Anything? Because it seems like there's a lot of yeses here, not a lot of nos.
Just looking through it real quick.
Mm-hmm.
It feels, it might be premature to say, but it feels like most of the core functionality that a typical end user, and I'm speaking broadly when I say that, but it feels like most of the core functionality that a typical end user would need is present. There's only a couple of things that a power user might look for that are not there. The one exception that jumps out at me immediately is the polls app.
Yeah.
Not having the polling app there immediately. That one kind of jumps out, but
I'm gonna say no on another thing. The chat activity tab.
yeah,
We did see that got deprecated. So that is a no. If everything in your life hinges on that activity tab, that's a no. But yeah, even if you relied heavily on the org chart tab, it's available in a different place in the people card.
yeah.
I know a lot of people like their job might really rely on NDI streaming. They might just be totally critical using polls in meetings. I think if you use those couple things, that's probably a you're not ready to switch type of situation. Stream Deck, I think that could be it's a big time convenience thing. I don't want to discount how important it is, but it sounds like hopefully it's coming soon. So that might be you're not waiting terribly long if you absolutely require that. But other than that, for me, I think I get more benefit out of all of this MTMA stuff than what I lose out by not having Stream Deck support. That's just my own personal measurement that I'm looking at.
Oh, here's
So,
a good question from the chat.
sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any repercussions with the meeting recordings if you're flipping back and forth? So that
I'm curious what you mean. Do you mean flipping back and forth between tenants or flipping back and forth between classic teams and new teams? Can you put that in the chat?
I'm gonna guess tenants.
Okay. Yeah. So like if we're recording a meeting and you switch tenant during the meeting, does that do
Yeah.
anything?
So
to
I
the
just
recording?
started the meeting recording from the meeting that we're
Okay.
in, the Contoso meeting. So it's
Okay.
going,
Yeah, I
and
see the red button.
yeah, and I've even switched up here. Like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
bouncing back and forth between two other tenants with my primary.
Yeah. And I
You're
still have
the
it.
meeting organizer, so the recording should live in your
Oh
OneDrive. So
crap.
we've seen what it looks like for me.
Yeah.
What happens if you switch?
I saw that you, well, I can't switch because this account I'm logged into doesn't have other tenants. So yeah, I can't switch back and forth because I'm only logged into one thing.
Mm.
Uh, I was curious though, can you activate your microphone and start transcribing again? I think that would be a good way to prove this. Like I'm gonna start transcribing and then see if you can activate your microphone and be talking, and then switch back and forth and see if you miss any transcript, because I think that will tell you that like it's been recording fully. And the only thing I could think is maybe losing a chunk of the transcript when you flip back and forth.
Well, it thinks you are me, and so it's been
Yeah,
picking up
probably because of
everything that you've
system
been.
audio coming in.
Yeah, it thinks that
Yeah,
you are me, and so I'm gonna switch over, and I'm gonna head over
we've
to
mind
the other
melded,
one.
Andy.
What's that?
We've mind melded.
Mind
This
melted.
is the same stream of consciousness.
This isn't Pacific
So
Rim.
yeah, I mean
Where's my
that's
Gundam?
good to know. Okay, yeah, she meant between tenants. So that's good to know. Is that yeah, it seems to be working just fine, which is going to be really important as we move into Copilot, and Copilot relying on that transcript to do in meeting Copilot features. It looks like yeah, you could have a foot in both camps. You can record the meeting. It's still going to be recorded in the environment that it was started to be recorded in, right? So like it was organized in Contoso. It's going to be in Andy's OneDrive because he selected to start recording. And the transcript doesn't even skip a beat. So you can still use those Copilot features and stuff like that.
And I'm sharing my activity monitor on the stream here, just so you can see
Mm-hmm.
like the amount of resources that it's taking up. Keep in
Yeah.
mind, I am running Parallels VM with Windows 11, and it's the
Mm-hmm.
most recent update for Windows 11. I am running Teams inside of that, the new Teams client, and I'm running Teams over here on my Mac as well. And this is with the
Mm-hmm.
setup that I have. This is the resources that it's eating up. I just wanted to point that out because
Yeah.
like I'm in a meeting, but I'm also in another tenant in the Teams client, so you can see the resources that it's allocating here.
Yeah. Okay.
Energy through
Yeah,
the
I
roof.
mean, I've been using it for a couple weeks. I've noticed, no slowdowns. It doesn't feel bogged down at all. For me, yeah, you with your M1 Max. For me, I live all day on my EY laptop. That is a M2 standard. It's a MacBook Air M2. So it is an M2, which is awesome, but it's like the lowest level you can go. And it's been great. It used to be my personal kind of tactic was that I would basically stop like I would quit out of teams every day at the end of the day. Now I haven't needed to do that and feel my system bogged down. So even without quitting teams at the end of the day, it's been fine for me. So, but yeah, I think that about does it. I think it kind of, to sum up what we've talked about, I think it really hinges on if you've got some of those feeding meeting features. If you're in video production, if you're a person who like organizes meetings, you're in like a service adoption type of role, so you're launching a lot of polls, things like that. You may need to switch back and forth. Again, that switch up at the top is so handy that you can flip back whenever you need to use meeting polls if it doesn't work for you in the future. Um, I I don't know. I feel a lot better personally about living all day and recommending that people live in the new teams than I did back in like June when we looked at this and there was a lot more gaps than there are today.
Yeah, the only feedback that I would have is that I have the new Teams client for the Mac, and in one environment it doesn't want to run. It's telling me that there's an administrative policy that's preventing it, but we can't figure out what the policy is. So
Yeah.
that's the only thing that I've run into. I've used it on my outside of work life for things like my MVP contributions and some of the community things that I do, and it's been absolutely amazing. And the
Hmm.
two things that I want to bring up from the chat window that kind of reiterate the way that I feel and the experience that I've had with it. And I've used the Windows one since it just went in preview, and the Mac one for about a
Hmm.
month now. To what Dwayne's saying here, the multi-tenant experience is worth it. I can give up polls to work with the multi-tenant experience. That's
Hmm.
the for me, that's huge.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah,
what
to
Daryl's
echo what
mentioned
Daryl
there,
said, yeah, that is the biggest thing for me as a Mac user. I would never switch different tenants whenever I was in classic teams because it would screw up my keychain access. And
yeah.
I'd have to go and like delete a bunch of cache, credentials and stuff out of there. I definitely have not had to do that in the new teams environment. So for me, it's the difference between being able to run everything in like a single app every day versus having like two or three edge profiles open and all of the resources that that takes up on top of the kind of heavier classic teams that we had. So for me, I'm going to be sticking to new teams. I'm going to be very anxious for the Stream Deck plugin. That's the thing I want the most. But I don't have to juggle as much, so I think I'm a new teams diehard guy. So
So
cool.
this one's been a fun one. We learned a couple of things. We've got resources. We'll put those in the recording on YouTube. Go back in and check that out. As
Hmm.
far as the let's bring up our socials and bring those on the screen. So
Yeah.
reach out to us, engage with us, let us know what you want to see next. You'll find us on LinkedIn. I think is primarily where we're playing around these days, as all the social media platforms are
Yep.
changing. LinkedIn seems to be a pretty solid spot for Microsoft community driven things.
Yeah.
But yeah, reach
There
out, let us
there's
know.
been there's been a lot of news, so just to throw a couple ideas out there in the chat if you want to vote or let us know. Like obviously Copilot is coming November 1st. That's going to be kind of hard to demo. Clipchamp just released to public preview. So let us know if you want to
Just
talk
saw it
about
yesterday.
Clipchamp. There's Town Hall got announced yesterday. I think that's releasing very, very soon.
Microsoft Teams Town
Um,
Hall, the replacement for live
yeah,
events.
Teams Town Hall for live events. So yeah, let us know. Like, would you like to see more about like AI type things and like prompt engineering, Copilot preparation, Clipchamp demo, or Town Hall? Maybe we'll kind of pick from the next of those.
Yeah, that sounds good.
So
Yeah.
cool.
So engage with us on social. And with that, thanks for the awesome participation in the chat here. This one's been lively. Share the recording with your
Hmm.
friends. Tell them about it, and we will see you in the
Yep.
next 365 deep dive. Thanks,
All
everybody.
right. Thanks, everybody. Have a great month. We'll see you next time.